Membres del grup, us donem la nostra calorosa benvinguda a aquesta trobada acadèmica. El GREPIC es va formar el 2017 amb l'objectiu central d'estudiar la història de la corrupció política a Espanya. Al desembre d'aquell any vam organitzar un primer congrés pioner d'història de la corrupció política. En l'actualitat treballem conjuntament en diverses accions de recerca i publicacions amb l'altre grup especialitzat en la història cultural de la corrupció en l'àmbit espanyol, el de la Universitat de Huelva, liderat per la professora María Asunción Díaz Zamorano, aquí present. Paral·lelament, estem investigant sota el paradigma de la nova història de la corrupció amb els nostres col·legues europeus, així com tenim vincles acadèmics amb Amèrica Llatina, particularment amb Argentina. It's a great pleasure for us to meet in a monograph workshop on corruption scandals. In fact, one of the main lines of the research group and the aforementioned project is precisely the analysis of the impact of scandals linked to the consumption of the public and the denunciation of political corruption practices. There has not been much interest in Spanish historiography in holding a meeting of this nature, nor has there been much interest in publishing on the subject. We have, in fact, a couple of monographic dossiers published in the journal Historia Politica in 2000 and 2018, respectively, and some research on the great scandals of the Spanish Second Republic. A deficit that is notorious in the modern period. For this reason, it seemed appropriate to open up the geographical space to other comparative cases in Europe and in the colonial sphere, while adding a multidisciplinary perspective. Thus, our workshop is a continuation of the one held at the University of Avignon in May 2013 as a result of the Franco-German research program led by professors Frédéric Mounier and Jens Engels, which led to the publication of the monograph Scandals and Corruption in the Contemporary Era, Armand Colin 2014. Since then, our research group has been in constant dialogue and reflection with our partners in the thematic network Politics and Corruption, Current Comparative History and Sociology, coordinated by Frédéric Mounier, such as the colleagues from the University of Bucharest, here among us, the University of Avignon, Darmstadt University, Brugge Universitat d'Amsterdam, and the Sorbonne University, among others. We regret that for health reasons, Professor Frédéric Mounier was unable to participate in the workshop with the planned inaugural lecture. We send him our best wishes for a speedy recovery. While the long-term origins of today's meeting date back to 2014, as we have noted, the immediate origins start from the workshop Corruption and State Modernization, Ideas, Discourses and Practices in the Pre-Modern Era and Beyond, held on 7 and 8 April 2022 at the Ludwig Maximilians Universität München. In the introduction to that workshop, we stressed that one of the key thematic axes developed by the historiography of corruption in the last 3 decades was that of case studies focusing on corruption scandals. At that meeting, we devoted one of the sessions to exploring the relationship between surveillance practices and their role in triggering corruption scandals. However, many questions remained unresolved. For this reason, we decided to organize a new scientific meeting focusing exclusively on scandals from a historical perspective, with a broad chronological scope and bringing together researchers from various disciplines within the social sciences. It should be noted that this interdisciplinary approach is one of the intrinsic characteristics of GREPIC, of our research group. The concept of the scandals derives from the Greek scandalon and from the Latin scandalum. According to the current edition of the Dictionary of the Spanish Language, one of the meanings refers to a fact or saying considered immoral or condemnable and causing public indignation and great impact. Until the 21st century, the main meanings were associated either with the damaged moral reputation or with the commotion caused by riots or disturbances. In our workshop, we will focus specifically on the scandals produced by corrupt political practices. A corruption scandal, by definition, is an event, not just a mere anecdote, that when it breaks out, because it can happen, in the public arena, it has significant consequences that affect the moral evaluations of the practices of power. These types of scandals have to do with the moral denunciation of behavior, attitudes, or political practices. They provide a window of opportunity to analyze perceptions of politics and power in a stark manner. They are a source of conflict about the public boundaries enforced in the historical context in which they occur. In the development of the scandal, the conflict that has given rise to it transforms the system of values due to moral challenges. And new moral and or legal norms can take shape, as well as possible administrative reforms or new public policies. They can also provoke longer-term consequences, such as the fall of a government, or more forceful consequences, such as a change of political regime. Despite the fact that the first major corruption scandals broke out almost simultaneously between the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the syntagma corruption scandal is unlikely to appear in documentation predating the 20th century. Therefore, what expressions should be looked for to identify a case as a corruption scandal? Must the term a scandal or a synonym appear? Should references to corruption practices that were clearly recognizable as such by the society experiencing or suffering from them suffice? Second, it's necessary for the affair to have been mediatized. I don't know if the pronunciation is correct.
Mediatized.
And if so, how do we measure the mediatization in areas like in media, and we understand them today? Lastly, how can approximate the societal impact of a particular scandal in historical periods where direct metrics of public opinion are unavailable? Another aspect we believe warrants attention and exploration concerns the internal chronology of the scandal. First, we must ask, when does the scandal begin? Why does it emerge at a specific moment and not earlier or later? When does it end? Why does it end? More importantly, in our view, does the conclusion of the scandal signify the end of the corruption case? If not, what social, economic, or political factors contributed to the corruption case ceasing to be perceived as scandalous by society? These questions are fundamental for understanding not only the life cycle of a scandal, but also the shifting societal dynamics that influence its visibility and perception over time. Another aspect or feature that will require exploration over the next 2 days is the impact of corruption scandals on defining the conception of public officers within a given society. Simultaneously, it will be necessary to examine whether scandals served as a pathway through which reforms were introduced regarding public officers, specifically their behavior, professional ethics and values. Thus, we believe it is worth asking whether corruption scandals were a key element in driving long-term changes, such as the very process of bureaucratization in European states over the past 4 centuries. Did corruption scandals act as a catalyst for change, or should we instead consider them part of more complex socio-political processes that were less dependent on isolated events? These questions are crucial for understanding the broader implications of scandals within a historical context. In conclusion, the workshop aims to provide a forum for the historical discussion of scandals through the lens of politicization. This approach seems particularly valuable for revisiting the assumptions of various social science disciplines, which often focus on specificities and originalities rather than considering historical events from a long-term perspective. The concept of corruption scandal, affair, or asunto in Spanish, the actors, the historical construction of the public sphere, the influence of the mass media, the competition of and a struggle for values, and the repercussions in comparative perspective will be discussed at length in this workshop. We will do so in the long term, from the beginning of the modern era, in imperial scenarios, and in monarchies composed in a first panel. The second and the third panels are devoted to 19th and 20th centuries. A big thank you to all the speakers for having accepted our invitation. We hope that the cases that will be presented in the resulting debates will be rich and motivating, and that they will allow us to mature the contributions that we will collect in a future publication. We will have at your disposal a coffee break in the mornings of the 2 days of the workshop, a lunch and tea cakes in the afternoon. We wish you at the same time a wonderful stay at our university in the city and in the city of Barcelona. Thank you so much for your attention, and we can start with the first panel.